Hey there, and welcome to open class number 20. I'm laughing because I was just kind of checking my microphone to see if it was off before I was doing this thing, and it was on. It should be recording, so that it's very, very, very good. And again, super excited that you are here and that you are studying with us here at the Sleep Coach School. We have our self-coaching program almost done. Super excited about it. It's going to be a few more days, then it's going to be up and running. Now, other than that, no more announcements, but I have a little reflection. I'm thinking of starting all these open classes with a little reflection right at the beginning. So for anyone who doesn't want to listen to the entire video, at least you have this. So here it is. This was actually a tweet I sent the other day, and a number of people liked it, and I think there's something to learn here. So you can't shut your brain off because you're looking for the switch. What do I mean by that? Well, the more I've come to understand, how the mind works, the more clear it becomes to me why so many people have a problem with shutting the brain off. Like, I just can't shut it off, and no matter what I do, I can't shut the brain off. And here is the reason why. So the brain often has a message for us that it thinks is important. And sometimes that message is something that is not necessarily pleasant to hear. It's a thought that produces anxiety. So therefore, we naturally want to not have that thought. And so we try to not listen to it, kind of buffer by watching a TV show. And this is not, I always talk about watching Netflix or something for enjoyment, which is great, but sometimes we do things to escape. Like we maybe binge eat, or we go out for a run, or do something to escape the thoughts, or whatever it is. We often do things kind of not have all those thoughts. And guess what we're doing then? We're looking for the switch. We're trying to shut them off. We don't want to have those thoughts. And then the brain, thinking it has an important message for us, and we're not listening, it gives us more and more of those thoughts. So the reason you have these unending, relentless thoughts is because you're looking for the switch. You're trying to shut them off, to shut off your brain. So what should you do? Well, you should show the brain that you're listening, which I often talk about here, doing that thoughts download, write down your thoughts once a day, or just take a second to listen to what the brain is warning you about, and imagine those things that it's warning you about. And when you're willing to experience X, even if only in your imagination, the brain doesn't feel that need to warn you anymore. So a little reflection there. Hope it was helpful. And before we're going, we have, Kim is with us live. I'm happy you made it. And I have, actually, since you're here, Kim, let's start with your question. Let's jump into that one. So let me share my screen here and go over questions. And we'll start with Kim's question. And Kim, as you're here live, feel free to comment as we go through this. So let's see, here we are. I've been trying to not spend too much time reading an entire email if it is a long one, so we can get more time to focus on kind of the core questions, etc. So I'm gonna kind of go over this one pretty quickly, and then we can focus on the question. And Kim, you can answer. You can ask questions live here, of course. So let's read this. So Kim says this: I'm taking you up an offer of an opinion. Absolutely. And by the way, my disclaimer here: nothing here is medical advice. Just me sharing general thoughts that applies to anyone with a similar question that Kim has. So Kim says here in her question that she is 62 years old, has had some trouble sleeping since childhood, but it has gotten worse. She is a night owl and was often not able to sleep even as a child, sometimes going 36 hours without sleep, not by choice. 2014, had a breast cancer diagnosis and had therapy for that. Was sometimes wide awake for 24 to 30 hours, sometimes 48 hours or more. She doesn't believe it's mania or hypomania because she feels terrible without ambition, etc. the following day. Kim understands it's not SFI, and her problems have progressed slowly over many years. She seems to have neurological symptoms: brain zaps, restless legs, sensation of a sudden brief electrical jolt traveling up the spine, the entire body jerks, sometimes icy cold for a minute, no history of epilepsy, occasional clonic jerks as she's falling asleep. These have an electrical feel to them, feels like sapping. During the daytime, I often have severe muscle stiffness in my upper legs. Melatonin, theanine doesn't help. Certain medications such as Valium seem to make these electrical episodes more likely and more intense. Ironically, coffee seems to relax the muscles. She saw a YouTube video of a guy who had the same spinal zaps and severe insomnia. They thought it was SFI, but then a reaction to ciproflixacine, and Kim also had an allergic reaction to ciproflixacine right around the time it started. I would very much appreciate if you could point me in the right direction or give me some insight. Absolutely, absolutely. So first of all, I want to say, Kim, thank you so much for sending this question, and again for being a student here with us. So I want to say, when I read an email from someone, you often get a sense of where that person is at. Some people are not having too much trouble sleeping and kind of just need a few pointers. Some people have a lot of anxiety, but they see that the anxiety definitely is the trigger for their insomnia. And then sometimes you have an email like yours, Kim, which is someone who is kind of before the set it stage. Oftentimes I talk about the journey towards getting to a place of really good sleep as like a two-faced journey. Set it and forget it. Set it is when you understand how sleep is regulated, what insomnia is, and you understand why you've had trouble sleeping, and that leads to a place where you don't really worry that much. You understand what's happened, and then you can forget it. Then you can move away from it, pay less attention to it, and really start sleeping better. So the first step, in my opinion, is always set it. You have to set it before you can forget it. And how do you set it? It is, again, a matter of education, learning how sleep is regulated and what's happening, etc. And this is where, for you, Kim, I think there is going to be quite an amount of work to get to a place where you can set it, because what we hear in this email is, I get this picture of somebody who is in Wonderland, if you will, who has kind of gone down the rabbit hole and is and the brain here is really, really, really trying to figure it out. Is it a breast cancer diagnosis? Is it the niall tendencies? Is it the ciproflixacine? Why isn't theanine working? Caffeine seems to make it work. There's Zaps intentions. There is so much going on here that the brain is trying to rationalize, trying to make a story of, trying to comprehend. Now, what is, when I read an email like this, what do I think is happening? I think there's actually no mystery at all. And here, this is the tricky part. The tricky part is to go from Wonderland to Kansas. You really want to be in Kansas, because when you see that there is nothing strange, unusual going on, then you are close to, set it, right? That's where you want to be. So what do I think is going on when I read something like this? Hyperarousal. I think hyperarousal is definitely something that can explain everything that's happening here. And a few minutes on that, like, what is hyperarousal? When we are in an emotionally heightened state, when there's this kind of anticipatory thing going on, when we think something is about to happen and we have to watch out and be aware, that's hyperarousal. Hyperarousal can come from fear, from anxiety, from stress, from worrying, from excitement, from puzzlement, from bewilderment. And oftentimes when somebody is in Wonderland, that hyperarousal actually comes from puzzlement and bewilderment and just like not understanding what is going on, right? But in reality, it is, when you're trouble sleeping and everything that comes with it seems kind of bewildering and you're trying to figure it out, that is the reason you have hyperarousal, and that is the reason all these things are going on. So I want to say that everything we read in this email is not uncommon. The tension, the little sleep, everything we hear is actually not uncommon at all, and it's all caused by hyperarousal. And so then the question becomes like, how do you get to the other end of hyperarousal? So you have less of these zaps and tensions and electric shocks and little sleep and etc. Education, it is just education. So I think for someone like yourself, Kim, if you have somebody, sleep coach, therapist to work with that really understands sleep, fantastic. If you want to spend time here, just go through like the playlist. This is NATO playlist. I think it's a good one. The one on hypnic jerks maybe is a good one too. But just spend time kind of understanding hyperarousal and insomnia and sleep, etc. And you will move your way towards set it, where things aren't that strange, and you can then take the further steps towards sleeping well. So I think that was kind of the main insights I wanted to share with you, Kim. And let me know what you thought and any follow-up questions too. We have Lytle with us. Hi, Lytle. Always nice seeing you. Klaus is here. I wake up after 4 hours of sleep and then fall asleep again. Is this normal? How do I sleep straight for 7 hours? This is one of those where, you know, when I say this is not to kind of like be fresh or anything. It's what I truly believe is the case. When you don't want to sleep straight for 7 hours, when that is not a goal or desired, that will happen. We all wake up, every single human being wake up multiple times. When you had trouble sleeping, you become more aware of those wake ups. So you know that you wake up and then it seems like you're not as fragmented. But when you just kind of like pay less attention to it, don't desire sleeping 7 hours straight. One big tip. Second one, go timeless. How do you know it's 4 hours? You know, how do you know you wake up after 4 hours? If you're checking the clock, easy. Don't check the clock, you know? And if you are just doing the mental estimation, doubt it. Doubt your mental estimation. And then that way you have no clue if you slept 4 hours or 3 hours or 5 hours. And that is really, really, really helpful. Okay. So Daniel Lero says, hi, Daniel. Seems I can only sleep between 11 and 11:30 p.m. now. Every time I try to sleep earlier or later, and I'll have a very hard time getting or staying asleep. Do you think it's just in the mind? Good one. It's always just in the mind. I mean, literally, maybe there's some exception, right? But I think it's virtually always in the mind. And I say the same thing as I just said to Klaus. The solution here to me is very simple. It's don't know what time it is. Don't know what time it is. Then there is no nothing going on there. But this is a very common one that people say, if I have this window, if I don't fall asleep between this hour and that hour, then sleep will just not happen. And the only way you can explain that is that you have that kind of mental habit of thinking of that way, that expectation that, oh no, I went outside my window or I didn't fall asleep. Like that's why you become hyper aroused. So definitely, I think going timeless will totally solve this one, Lurlo. Kim says this makes sense. I'm very happy to hear this, Kim, because it's a lot. It's what I just said is like probably a very big step from kind of how you've been thinking. So I'm very, very happy to hear that, Kim, and just stay in touch and let us know how things go. And I think things will get better and better. Perfect. Cool. So let's go back to the top here and look at a question from Frima. I want to thank you for your insightful book, Set It and Forget It. I want to thank you for buying it and for these kind words, as well as the YouTubes you've been doing anytime. I've been struggling with this for over 50 years on and off, but it really got bad since the pandemic began. I took a CBTi program and I gained a lot out of it. Took it in August and September 2020. However, I'm not there yet, and I do have about 1 to 2 nights that are bad every week along with good nights. I realize this will take time to resolve completely. I'm able to follow some rules, but not all. I simply can't function the next day after a bad night for me, which is 0 to 3 hours. I had a stroke 20 years ago in the cerebellum, extreme fatigue, which offsets my balance, making me more prone to falls. I was told that I shouldn't even do local driving when I'm tired, and I agree with that. Due to this, I have no choice but to sleep an extra 1 to 2 hours in the morning after very little sleep. On most occasions, if I'm still pretty tired, even with the added sleep, my sleep the following night is not affected, although the wake-up time is 1 to 2 hours later. Do you think that this is messing with me over with the circadian rhythm? I did try a 30-minute power nap in the AM, but it was not good enough. I would like to sign up for a month or 2 of your program with BedTyme. Do you think this would be useful for me, considering that I already went through the whole CBTi program already? I see that your methods are a modified CBTi approach, and I want to get as much knowledge that I can so I can figure out what works for me. Well, Frima, I want to thank you for submitting this this question, and I want to say this, that safety is of paramount importance, right? Of course. That is number one. So I'm going to make this a general comment, and you, Frima, you apply this as to the extent that you think it's helpful to you. It is very, very common, of course, that you are tired, fatigued, have brain fog, things of that nature when you have slept little. Now, that said, it is extremely important, in my opinion, to try to identify things other than sleep that play a role when it comes to how you feel during the day. The reason being that if you have a night where you sleep very little and you feel terrible the following day, and you say this is 100% due to the fact that I slept little, then you are putting a lot of pressure on yourself. That you will, every night you will feel like, I can't have one of those short sleep nights again because I feel terrible. And that pressure will just keep the insomnia going. So I think it is super important, when you have a night of short sleep, look at that as the opportunity. Look at it as the opportunity to show yourself that something good can happen the following day. So I think something that's really good for you, Frima, and anybody else out there, is plan for a reward, if you will, or something you spoil yourself after a sleepless night. Have something planned, something that you don't normally allow yourself, that you only allow yourself when you have that night of very little sleep, because that teaches the brain this hyper important lesson, which is something really good can happen after a sleepless night, right? And when that happens, magic happens. Then the brain goes, oh, okay, I had a pretty good day after sleeping little. Okay, well, then maybe I don't have to fight so hard. Maybe I don't have to pressure myself to sleep that much. That is super, super important. I've seen so many times that is the key to starting to sleep really well. And I have become a real, even more than in the past, a fan of the timeless night. So you say you sleep 0 to 3 hours sometimes. How do you know? If you're checking the time, don't do that. If you're not checking time, you're just mentally estimating, try not to do that. Try to just doubt how much, try to move away from that. That will be super helpful. And I just want to add one more thing for free, maybe two more things for free, Mayor. One is, you've done this program and you have gotten some kind of rules, some tips, etc., that have gotten you to a place where you are doing better. Guess what? Those rules can help, sure, but that's not why you got better. The reason you started sleeping better was that you became more willing to have insomnia. You became more, being awake at night became more acceptable to you. And how can I say that? Well, that's because if you are super, super sleepy, but you're also super, super worried, which is another word for I can't have insomnia, which means you are unwilling to have insomnia, then you will not sleep. That's just, you sleep very little. It will be very little sleep. So if you slept better, it is because you actually became more okay with being awake at night. Insomnia became more acceptable, less frightening. You became less attached. And if you just apply that throughout, if you take that knowledge and say, okay, the reason I slept better is because I became more okay with being awake at night, you apply that even more, and you'll see that good sleep comes your way, right? And BedTyme, by the way, anyone who is interested, that is, where's my banners here? Anyone out there who wants some more support, like a curated curriculum, text-based coaching 101, check it out. And I want to say, Frima, I don't know, you may actually, with this reply and what you've learned, you may have all you need. Maybe you just need a little bit more time for everything to sink in. But that said, you can always check out the free trial. Just make sure you unsubscribe immediately so you don't get charged if you don't need it. So with that said, let's go back to our comments here. Lurlo said that one. Kimberly says, I always have a million things that I'm trying to figure out. I hear you totally. And that totally causes a lot of trouble sleeping. Which and I say that from a point of that's good. It's good to know that because there's less mystery there. Laura says, your book is helping me doze off every night. That's amazing. Not that it's boring, it's comforting. Yeah, I super appreciate that. And by the way, everybody's read it. consider writing a review. You know, that really, really helps. Lytle says, just want to know, my sister-in-law is currently having trouble sleeping. She's being so miserable. I'm planning to share her the things I've learned. That'd be amazing. Please share it. Please share it. Yeah, you should coach her, absolutely. After the school module's on, yeah. Let us know how you do, Lytle, in your first sleep coaching venture there. I think you'll do fantastic. All right. So let us go back here and look at question number 2, which is from Jeremy. Jeremy says, "Hi Dan. Well, it looks like I have relapsed. I have had the big one a second time. I've now gone 4 days without much sleep, maybe 2 hours a night. The only way I was able to shut an eye was because of a couple of shots of alcohol, and I had to be on the couch. I know these are very bad habits, but that's all I could do. The anxiety was so intense every time I hit the bed. There was no way to calm my brain. My heart races. My muscles get tense. I feel like my whole body's vibrating, full on anxiety. Your videos did help me the month before, and I don't know what happened to send me back in this state. Now, to prevent it from becoming a long-term problem, what are my next steps? Thanks for any help anytime, Jeremy. I'm very happy that you are sharing this very, very important question with us. And there's many things I want to say here, but number one is this one. I almost never have a client who goes from like, you know, week 1, sleeping a little better, week 2, sleeping better, week 3, even better, week 4, like that. That is very rare. If somebody has that type of progress, to be quite honest, I doubt that they really had insomnia. I doubt that they really had that much insomnia, you know? I'm super happy for that person. But again, insomnia in my mind comes from when your brain has become really entangled, really, there's a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, a lot of thoughts, a lot of like, you know, connections that are not actually making sense in the brain, right? So where I'm going towards here is that progress is like this, you know, you get better, but it's a lot of yo-yoing, a lot of relapses, which I like to call speed bumps, etc. So completely normal and expected, nothing strange about it. That's number one. And number 2, always be sure to deploy self-kindness. It is of the utmost importance. And that's, for example, when somebody like Jeremy hasn't slept well, you know, had some alcohol, slept on the couch, or somebody took a medication or something like that. Often, you know, so often people are hard on themselves, like, why did I do that? Why can't I sleep better? Why am I stuck here? Why am I not getting better, etc. This is completely normal. This is completely normal part of the process. Always try to talk to yourself as, you know, imagine like the 5-year-old version of yourself who's really afraid, and just imagine how you'd be like, it's going to be okay, nothing to worry about, it's going to be fine. Give them a hug like that. Do that to yourself. Super important. That gets you unstuck, and you see that there's hope and you can move forward. Super important. Okay. And then number 3, and this is my, I've always had something to like kind of a teaching point when it comes to the speed bump. But I think my go-to one now is the one I've already shared here, which I think is so important, which is the reason you slept better once you started learning was that you became more having a little sleep became more acceptable. You didn't push for it, you didn't want it, you didn't try to get it so much, you had a more relaxed approach, you were more like, it's okay if I don't sleep that much. You may not have thought that actively, but that is the reason you slept better. So if you go back there and you see, okay, this has already worked for me, now I'm going to go back to a place where if I don't sleep much tonight, that's okay. That's okay. It would be great if I slept much, but if I didn't, that's also acceptable. When you go back there where you have already been, Jeremy, and that's the thing, you already were there, you can easily go back there and you'll sleep really, really, really well, Jeremy. Hang in there. You'll get there. Panther Sprung, I find it hard not to get attached to good sleep after I start to have good nights again. Any tips on that? Does it help? Okay, this is, let's see. I get that too. I get so demoralized when it comes around. 100%. So I call this success regress, okay? And, there are many reasons why we have nights of little sleep. Surprisingly, a common one is sleeping better. It is very, very common. And, I'm laughing because it's kind of ironic, right? That there's so many reasons that can cause us to have trouble sleeping. and one of them is sleeping better, and that's what I call success regress. And the reason is that when you had, it's been really yo-yoing, things have been all over the place, then you start learning, you're a little bit worried, you have a night of good sleep, a second night, a third night, and then these thoughts come like, is this real? Could this really be going on? What if I have a fourth night? Will this throw me off? Blah, 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 blah. And then it happens. And then you sleep very little, right? And then you get really discouraged. Like, of course, it wasn't real. It was just a fluke. It's not going to happen. And then you start, and then this can repeat and repeat again. Now, I think the key teaching here is the reason you have the regress, the night where you sleep a little after having success, is 100% from how you thought about the success, nothing else. It's not the success that makes you have the regress. It's how you think about the success. It's how you think about, I've slept good 2 nights. I've slept 3 nights. What's going to happen? And so what is the key here? It is like when you've slept good for 3 nights or 2 nights or 4 nights, then you should really move in the direction of like, and if I sleep a little tonight, that doesn't mean anything. I'm okay with that. I'm okay. And what happens then is that when you are willing to experience the regress, you remain with only the success, So be willing to have the regress, be willing to have a speed bump, and you'll be like full speed ahead, 100%. So don't be, again, I know it's demoralizing. Don't be hard on yourself. Completely normal, part of the process. And in fact, there's no better way than to build sleep confidence than to go through the bumps. All right. Very well. Let's continue here. Anonymous, thanks for answering a question. I just thought of one which would be a good one. So in the UK, the clocks go back an hour end of October. So now 10 p.m. would be 9 p.m. end of October. We get an hour back. I've been doing sleep restriction, midnight to 6:15. Any device on to change the window. So I'm not waking up at 5:15 once the time changes. At the moment, it takes me about 15 minutes to fall asleep. I wake up around 4-ish for about 30 minutes, then fall back asleep until my alarm wakes me up. So should I start increasing my window? Due to the support, your videos, and your genuine desire to help, I have come leaps and bounds. Super, 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 super happy to read that. June, I was going through several sleepless nights, and when I did sleep, I was getting maybe 3 hours. Okay. So this comes up every now and then. Somebody's like, I'm on this like a sleep window or a sleep restriction, whatever you want to call it. And I'm going to travel to a different time zone, or the clocks are going to change. And I wake up, what am I going to do? I think, to be honest with you, this is one of those where I say, what am I usually saying here? Like, X isn't the problem. You thinking about X could be a problem. So it's one of those like, the time change is really not it can cause some sleep disruption for sure, but it's not really a problem. But if you start really thinking about how should I do it, should I do this, should I do that, and all that attention, all the preoccupation, all the figuring out of that could become a real issue. So I want to say pretty much like consider it a non-thing. I would say just like keep doing what you're doing, but let the time change happen. And again, you sleep for 4 hours, then you're up for 30 minutes, then you probably try to go timeless. I can't stress this enough. I think it's super, super helpful to go timeless. So that is a good one. And then, those wake ups that happen, kind of like you wake up a little bit earlier. When you go timeless, I really believe that is the key. So hope that helped, Anonymous. And if you don't want to be anonymous in the future, let me know. But I'm still going with anonymous because I think you requested that at some point. Panterspring saying thanks here. Anytime. Oh, and here was Panterspring also. You got it. Lorlo in such a is that attitude helpful for my problem right now? I think that's like maybe conversation happening here, Lorlo and Panterspring. So I'll leave that one there. Let's see. We have, I think, 2 more questions, Setsu and Jay. Let's go for Setsu's question here, which was a little bit like a different. I remember this was being a little bit different take on a more common question, perhaps. Let's read this. Hello, Daniel. First time I'm writing to your channel, but I've been subscribed for a while. Thank you for the support, Setsu. First came to know you through your review for Sasha Stevens' book about insomnia, and I stayed for the wealth of well thought, greatly explained content and collaborations. So thank you so much. That is still my go-to book when people ask me. I don't really think of myself as an insomniac. I never really had any problems with my sleep until my anxiety, which is my main issue, chose to manifest itself with a panic attack in bed some 5 years ago. I'm 40 now. That was the first time I started fearing not sleeping, as I've always been the type to fall asleep anywhere, anytime, like a log. Still to this day, my long phases of good to great sleep are as deep and satisfactory as back then. However, there have been a few times where my fear of sleep didn't stay dormant, but raised its head again and again. And each one of those has been very, very hard on me. When this happens, I suddenly go from 7 hours of solid, delicious sleep to nights where I simply close my eyes, trying to calm my racing heart and hope I don't get too strong for an adrenaline rush from whatever my mind is trying to protect me from. A lot of insight here. I have learned a lot through each of my bad stretches of sleep. I soon intuitively understood the keys was somehow forgetting, letting go, not letting this thing dictate my life. And thanks to your channel and your books, I still have plenty to learn. But as I'm writing to you in the throes of a new stretch of very bad sleep after 9 months from the last one, I seem to have about 1-2 bad stretches per year. I started to wonder if these relapses are the sign that I haven't actually learned much if I keep making the same mistakes. When it came to my mind that the rational part of my brain seems to consider these bad stretches some sort of trial that I continuously have to undertake in order to prove myself that, yes, I've really conquered my fear of not sleeping. It's, in short, as though my mind wants to treat these occasions as challenges, even though my rational mind would just want to be over with this exhausting competition of sort and just go back to enjoying the bliss of sleep all year long. Is there a way of retraining your brain/irrational mind to let go of these useless games? What would work to establish a situation of acceptance and not open confrontation? Thanks for the time. Anytime. Okay, this is a good one. And okay, I want to start here by saying that Setsu, I think I read here one of the, in passing, it said like, the brain's trying to protect me. And overall in this email, we can see like, so much insight, so much understanding. And I think that is the reason that you have not gone to a place where you have a lot of trouble sleeping, and that's fantastic. So I think you're already, as you know, you're in a good place compared to so many people that have a lot of ongoing trouble sleeping. Okay, so the core question becomes, when I start having this, a stretch of little sleep, then part of my brain wants to kind of like see it as a challenge, trying to figure it out. And another part of my brain wants to go, just, don't go there, don't go there. And I think, to be honest with you, that if the desire to kind of like not have this relapse at all is very understandable, and I would love to, of course, help you get there. And I think paradoxically, as always, the answer lies in acceptance. That when you get to a place where you're like, yeah, I do have these stretches of little sleep, and that's okay. I have them a couple times a year, and that is always good. When you're willing to experience anything, that always helps. Number two, I think. And this is kind of like a weird way of acceptance too, is that when your mind starts trying to figure it out, then maybe let it, like, okay, I see what you're trying to do, and I'm not gonna keep you from, accepting this challenge, but I'm gonna have a more observational approach. Okay, I'm gonna see what you're gonna do. I'm gonna write down the thoughts that come in my mind, and I'm not gonna stop it. So I think what can happen is that when your brain goes into problem-solving mode and you want to actively like stop the problem-solving mode, then it can kind of fire it up. So I think maybe having that more detached approach when your mind starts to accept this challenge, that's another one. And then it just struck me as I was reading this that another one which you may consider is this one. So when you start having trouble sleeping and your mind goes into this problem-solving mode, then it often has these suggestions, right? Like, oh, maybe you didn't sleep because of the coffee. Maybe you did this. Maybe it was that. Maybe it was that. And something that I learned from another viewer here was this kind of like this untangling method, I've started to call it, which goes like this. So let's say you have trouble sleeping, right? And you start thinking, oh, it's because I drank coffee yesterday. Then guess what? You drink more coffee, right? To just kind of like show the brain that I'm not buying into this. Or you think, oh, I slept better because I stayed in the right side of the bed. Then you sleep on the left side of the bed, to just show the brain that no, I'm not going into that entangling anymore. So I hope, I hope this made sense, Setsu. If not, just let me know, and I'll get back to it. But thanks so much for this question, Setsu. And again, I hope it made sense to you. Very well. So we have a little bit of comments here. Is Jonathan? It's a little bit of what do you call it? A little ad here. Thanks, Jonathan. And I think Jonathan's sharing. I can download BedTyme. It's helping a lot on a daily basis. Anytime. I really appreciate it. I'm super happy that it's helped you. Okay, perfect. So we will move forward with, I believe, our last question for today, which is from Jay, who perhaps has contributed more than anyone else to this channel. And Jay, by the way, had this episode. I think he shares this, that he really thought he had SFI, and now he's way past that. But let's read this. Hello, Daniel. I hope you had an awesome Thanksgiving. Thank you. I know you're in Canada. I know you have Thanksgiving. So everybody from Canada out there, happy belated Thanksgiving. Here it is a little later on. I saw in the video chat that you did with Casper lost his mom. I've been sleeping really good, but last night I felt like I didn't sleep. I was borderline dreaming. I wish I could make a detailed video on this topic. With COVID going on, it's really hard to see my sleep doctor. And he pretty much told me to get to about 2:30, and the mild sleep apnea will clear up. And, wait down to 2:30. The mild sleep apnea will clear up. I'm not going to panic about last night, but it's really strange. Went to bed around midnight, took 3 hours to kind of drift off, but I felt like I was awake, daydreaming. Here's one of those where we kind of already covered this a little bit in this episode, but you slept good for a while, and then something happens, right? I think it is always really, really important to just acknowledge that I've slept good for a while. That's a big evidence that you can't sleep. There's something wrong with you. And now the reason, again, that you slept so well was actually that you were trying less. You were not trying to figure it out. You were more okay with having trouble sleeping. You went into that accepting place. That's why you slept so well. And now your brain is kind of trying to bait you. It's like, hey, maybe there's a problem. Maybe there's a problem. Maybe you should look into this. What's going on? Why are you not sleeping? Blah, blah, blah. Don't take the bait. Be like, okay, I've been there before, and I've been to Wonderland. Like, I've had trouble sleeping before. I'm going to stay in Kansas. I'm going to be like, I'm going to be more accepting. I'm going to continue to be accepting. I'm not going to react to this, and you sleep really, really, really well again, Jay. So thank you for sharing, Jay. Thanks for the question. And I want to say thank you to everyone who is studying here with us. And I look forward to having you back really, really soon. Until then, take it easy.